welcome to the Ripple Effects. This is the podcast where we explore how our action ripple through the environment and shape the world around us. I'm your host, Serena, and I'm thrilled about today's episode because we are going to dive deep into one of the most urgent and complex challenges facing our planet today, climate change and its profound impacts on ecosystem. We all heard about climate change, but have you ever stopped to think about how it disrupts the delicate balance of nature and how that in turn affect us? And what can we actually do change things? Today we will explore how climate change is impacting the nature worlds, the hidden connection between ecosystem and what we as individuals and communities can do to slow or reverse the damage. To help us impact this topic, we are joined by two incre- incredible guests. First up, we have Dr. Shafika, a renowned environmental scientist with decades of experience studying ecosystem and climate change. Dr. Shafika, it's such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Serena, for having me. It's wonderful to be here, especially to talk about a topic that is so vital to our future. I'm excited to dig into this issue with you and your listener.
We are so excited to hear your insight. And joining us as well is Nimas, an environmental studies student whose passion for sustainability and making a real world impact is truly inspiring. Nimas, welcome to the Ripple Effects.
Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be a part of this discussion, especially at the time when we need to be more proactive about the environment. I can wait to share some of the things I've learned and talk about ways we can all make a difference.
Fantastic. Let's start by laying the foundation. Dr. Shavika, can you explain in clear terms what happens when climate change impact ecosystem? I think many people understand that the climate is changing, but they may not be fully aware of how this affects the ecosystem that sustain life on Earth.
That's a great place to start. To put it simply, climate change is the result of human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels that are releasing greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat, causing global temperature to rise. As the planet warms, it affects ecosystem in a variety of ways. One of the most immediate impact in the alteration of weather patterns, we are seeing a longer drought in some regions, more frequent and intense storm in others, and shifting seasonal pattern. For example, some species rely on certain weather conditions or specific seasons to breed, find food, or migrate. Climate change is disrupting this cycle, forcing animals and plants to either adapt, move, or face extinctions. A concrete example can be seen in polar regions. As temperature rises, sea ice is melting, and animals like polar bears, who depend on the ice for hunting seals, are finding it harder to survive. Similarly, marine ecosystems, such as coral reef, are extremely sensitive to temperature change. When sea temperature rises even slightly, corals expel the algae living in their tissue in a process called coral bleaching. These algae are vital to the health of the corals, providing food through photosynthesis. Without them, corals starve and entire marine ecosystem collapse. Another major factor is ocean acidification. As the oceans absorb more carbon dioxide, the water becomes more acidic, which harm marine life, particularly organisms that rely on calcium for their shells and skeleton, like mollusks, corals, and even some type of plankton. Since these species form the foundation of the food web, their decline creates a ripple effect that impacts the entire ecosystem.
That's such a powerful image. The idea that this description is one part of the world have a far-reaching impacts on entire ecosystem and by extension on human life. Nimas, from your perspective as someone studying environmental issue, what one of the most alarming consequences of climate change that you have come across in your research?
Okay. Uh, One of the most alarming things for me is the accelerating rate of species extinction. Climate change is creating conditions that are simply too rapid for many species to adapt to. For example, as temperature rise, polar habitats are disappearing. Polar bears rely on the sea ice to hunt for seals, but as the ice melts earlier in this year, they are left stranded, unable to find food. They are also increasingly coming into conflict with human population as they move further inland in search of food. But it's not just charismatic like Tegapuna, like polar bears. Even smaller species are feeling that pressure. For example, we are seeing shift in the migratory patterns of birds and the blooming times of plants. This change disrupt the nature cycles that ecosystem depends on, from the timing of flowers blooming for pollinators to the availability of food for behaviors. Another significant concern is the impact on pollinators, particularly bees. Bees are responsible for pollinating around 75% of flowering plants, which includes about one third of the food crop we consume. Climate change is affecting their behaviors, such as when they emerge from hibernation and how they forage. If bee population continue to decline, it could lead to severe consequences for global food security and also biodiversity.
That's a great point. The way species interconnect within ecosystem is something that we often overlook. The loss of a single species can set off a chain reaction that affect countless others. Dr. Shafika, can you help us understand how this disruption in ecosystem ultimately affect human societies?
Sure, it's important to remember that ecosystems don't just exist for the benefit of plant and animal. They provide essential service that human depends on for survival. This service, often referred to as ecosystem service, includes things like clean air, fresh water, fertile soil for agriculture, and climate regulation. For example, forests, wetland, and ocean act as natural carbon sinks, absorbing excess carbon dioxide and mitigating the effect of climate change. When forests are destroyed or wetlands are drained, we lose this natural defense, which worsens the climate crisis. Let's take food security as another example. If we continue to lose biodiversity, whether that's through the extinction of pollinator or the collapse of fish population due to overfishing and warming ocean, food production system become less resilient. A decrease in pollinator, for instance, will drastically reduce crop yield for many of the foods we rely on, from fruits and vegetables to nuts and even curtain oils. Also, human health is directly linked to healthy ecosystem. Forests and wetlands purify water, regulate floods, and even filter air pollution. When these ecosystems are degraded, we see increased risk of natural disasters like flooding and drought, as well as poor air and water quality, which can contribute to a rise in respiratory and waterborne disease.
That's a powerful reminder of how interwoven human well-being is with the health of the planet. Nimas, as someone actively working in the field of environmental studies, what advice would you give to young people who want to make a difference but feel overwhelmed by the scale of the problem?
It's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially when you are faced with such a massive issue. But I say the key is to take action, no matter how small. Individual action can seem insignificant on their own, but when we come together as a collective, those small actions create a huge ripple effect. You'd be amazed at what a movement can achieve when enough people commit to making a difference. On a personal level, young people can start by making sustainable choices in their daily life. This could be as simple as reducing waste, eating more plant-based meals, using energy efficiencies, and cutting back on single-use plastic. This is our easy action in to integrate into daily routine and can significantly reduce an individual's carbon footprint. But I also encourage young people to get involved in their communities, whether in volunteering for a local environmental organization, organizing a cleanup, or advocating for better policies. Every effort counts, but don't underestimate the power of young voice. Youth lead movement like Friday for Future or have some that young people can change the conversation and push for policy change at the highest level. We can also hold government and corporation accountable for the environmental damage they cause.
Such an such an inspiring message, Dr. Shafika. For listeners who might be looking for concrete, concrete steps they can take a get start on their own climate action journey, what advice would you give?
I'd say start small but think for long term. Many of us feel that the climate crisis is so vast that it's hard to know where to begin. But making small, consistent change is a powerful starting point. Begin by reducing your carbon footprint. Take public transport, carpool, or cycle instead of driving. Reduce energy consumption in your home and consider installing energy efficient appliances. Simple action like turning off light when not in use and unplugging electronic can also add up. Beyond personal habit, get involved in collective action. Join environmental groups, advocate for policies that promote renewable energy, and support business that prioritize sustainability. If you have that, if you have the means, you could even consider investing in sustainable practice or supporting local sustainable food system. As I mentioned earlier, the most important thing is that no matter how small your contribution, it all adds up when we work together.
Beautiful said. Thank you both, Dr. Shafika and Nimas, for sharing your expertise, passion, and hope with us today. And to our listener, thank you for tuning in. Remember, the ripple effect starts with us of us. We can all make a difference by committing to small steps, and together we can create lasting change. This has been the ripple effects. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep the ripple effects going strong. See you in the next episode.